welcome everyone. I have a special treat for you today. My dear friend, Psychic LJ Louise Jones, has joined us again for a chat. Louise, welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Lisa,
Well,
and
geez, the formal.
everybody.
I still can't get used to that. Yeah. Um, We've been having, as we tend to do, a whole lot of discussion surrounding a multitude of topics, but one that we thought would be very interesting today is to have a discussion, a further discussion about alien races
Yeah,
and star races, and your interactions. There's this kind of feeling going on in, I would say, primarily in Christendom, but I don't want to, say too much on that. But there's this sense of dread, right? And this sense of, oh my
yeah.
gosh, are there aliens out there? And, oh my gosh, are they all bad? And they're going to come like blow up the planet or what have you. So you've had so much interaction. I just want you to start telling us a little bit about the alien races, like your interactions and with them, and maybe even a little history or what they're currently doing right now to assist us.
Okay, well, I've been in contact with different star races from being a young child. It became very intense when I was in my early 20s and I started to interact with them physically and have contact. People say, well, you were abducted. I would say I was a volunteer. I went on to one of their starships. I'll talk about that in a
Mm.
minute. But obviously, I do a lot of telepathic communication with the star races. Um, I don't claim to be anything special, but I was born into a lineage of psychics, as you know, from the last show. And you know this, Lisa, we've been sent here to this planet to sort this mass psychosis out.
Yeah.
We've come to this planet. We are spiritual beings in a physical suit. We've come as healers to calm everything down and show people the way. And
Hmm.
we've been interacting for many years doing this. And I believe every time I have a client in, do it either Akashic Records or Shaman Healing, I just get more downloads and more downloads.
Yeah.
But one of my first experiences, when I was in my early 20s, I was lying in bed. I don't know if I've told you this before. And the bedroom went orange and I sensed a presence outside. And I couldn't hear any helicopters or any aircraft that we know. But I knew that there was something above my house. And I just froze in the bed. Obviously, it was in the middle of the night and the bedroom went orange. And then the next thing, I had these little guys, these little beings, greys, standing around my bed. At that point, when I looked at them, they telepathically communicated with us. They weren't speaking, telling me that they wanted to take us somewhere to show me my source and would I like to come. They asked us. They didn't say, you're coming. They asked us. And at that point, I felt a love vibration. I didn't feel fear. The fear went. The fear went from fear to excitement.
Hmm.
And I could feel love vibrating from these little guys. Okay, there was about 3 of them in the room. Actually, there was a 4th one near the bedroom door, so they were leading us out.
So was this the sense of, sounds very different than what people will discuss as, if they've gone to heaven, right? There's this light and this, these gates. Perhaps sometimes people recognize this. It sounds like a very different experience.
Yeah, it's, as you know, like I telepathically communicate with them and I channel them now. But this wasn't on that level. This was physically happening. So I went out the front door and I couldn't actually see a craft. All I seen was light, just white light.
Mhm.
My understanding is that it wasn't a physical craft as we know. It was on a sphere energy. of light.
Mm.
So I went into the light and then went up. So obviously I was going into up a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing, I was seated in this very large craft. And they told me that it wouldn't be long and then I would go to the destination. And I remember looking out of the window and seeing Earth as we're floating out of orbit.
Mm. So they literally took you to outer space. Wow.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you said this happened?
I was 23.
Wow.
I was
Wow.
23. Yeah.
Wow.
It was before I had my second son. It
Okay.
told me as well that my son would be safe while this happened. Because I obviously had another little boy in bed. But I had a friend staying over. Because I said I was a bit unsure being a mother about leaving my son.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, they'll be protected until you return.
Mm. Did you
This happened overnight. This happened as everybody was sleeping.
So literally time was, sometimes we
Frozen.
can have these experiences. So yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
ask you that. Was it as if like when you got back, it was just before dawn, or was it as if time had never stopped? So how like did
So
time elapse?
what happened was they said I would be back by morning and nobody would know I was gone.
Mm.
That's what they said. But it seemed like I was longer away. If you can understand, it's like they froze time. It seemed like I was there for about 3-4 days.
Wow. Wow.
So we went to this, we landed, and they told me that I went to Nebula, and we went into an underground city. Okay.
Mm.
Didn't land on top. It flew in.
Mm-hmm.
It flew in like a dome.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all futuristic.
Mm-hmm.
When I came off the craft, there was other people also coming off the craft, which I never seen when I was sitting in the room with the craft. They were also being escorted off. And there was lots and lots of different human beings all lined up. There was no sense of fear. And I was automatically, straight away, introduced to this very tall being. And my head came up to his waist.
Wow.
And I'm 5'6.5", 5'7". You can imagine how tall he was. And the love radiating off him was unreal. He was like a chalky skinned, looked like a hint of blue, like a grey, bluish skin, dark hair, and he looked like he had like bits of whiskers, and he was in a dark all-in-one suit.
Mm-hmm.
And they were taking people off through, there was underground tunnels. There was it looked like a futuristic tube station, and they were going off into different locations.
Mm.
Everybody was lining up to go into different locations. Then they checked my DNA with this device, like a slim device. They checked my DNA. And then he said that I needed to have a coding. And I asked him why I need a coding. And he said it was so that I could communicate and translate with the downloads to help the human race, to help humanity. Communicate with different alien races as well. But also to put me into a protective order. And I said, what do you mean a protective order? And he said that there's matrices within matrices. And there is star seeds and highly advanced ascended souls on our home planet who are being protected by the different federations. So they put this mark into us. It was a V. I believe this is like connected with Venus.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a V, and he said it would give us a little sting. And he stung, actually, it was on my left hand. It just went like that. Like if it was cold and then a little sting, and that's all it was. And I
Mm-hmm.
looked at it, and it was like a burn mark of a V on my hand there.
Mm.
Okay. And then I spent time with them, and I was talking to other people. There was people from all over the globe, Americans, British, Chinese, African, different nationalities were in these tunnels. And they were all getting coded.
So they were all getting linked up together. So
With
when we
different
say
federation, different groups.
so when we say corded, so usually we think of cords as a negative thing, but in this case, it was creating a positive
Yeah,
connection with these federations or with these star races so that the communication line between you and them could
yeah,
be easier.
yeah. So they have, the technology isn't the issue. It's like anything. It's who's behind the technology. So whatever the baddies have, the goodies have. So we've been held back by all this amazing technology. So these star races that I've been interacting with, they have the same technology, but they use it for the good.
Can we explore that a little bit? Unless, so I guess I will circle back. So do you want
Yeah.
to, is there more to that story that you want to, so they end up kind of branding you in a way, but we
Yeah, it's a
won't call
bit,
it a brand.
you could say that if I've got like a bug or a device in, that it
Mm-hmm.
helps me to communicate, and sometimes they'll come to us and say, give us more downloads. But
Right.
anyway, get back to that night. I didn't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
The love frequency was so high,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that I had to go back. He said I was having a child, and that I needed to go back for, obviously, for my other son as well. And I asked if I could come back, and he said not yet.
Wow.
He said it wasn't necessary. He said this was the meeting place, but we will meet again one day. That's what he said.
Wow.
And I woke up the next thing, I can't remember getting back, and I woke up in the morning and I had a burn mark on my, physical burn mark on my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then about a week later, if that, I found out that I was carrying a child, I was pregnant. And the burn mark stayed on my hand until I had the child.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to with the branding. So that mark, that V stayed on your hand
Until I
until
gave
after you
birth.
had your second son.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like anything. When you become a medium, you have spirits sometimes and sometimes you don't. So they leave you a while and then come in again with another download, that type of thing. Then in early 2000, in the noughties, before like the millennium,
Mm-hmm.
I started to interact with different guides.
Mm-hmm.
They started to teach me. They said they were from the future. And they were coming in dreams. And they took me to a location not far away where I was living at the time, where there was a tunnel. And they took me through a portal, and they helped me to meet with other star races. But these people were modern day. Well, they looked modern day, but more modern. They said they were from the future, and they had the technology. So then I started to interact with Palladian beings at that point. All of this time, I wasn't telling anybody. I was just keeping it to myself. I've always been able to do light language. You
Mm-hmm.
know, through society, nobody else was doing it, so I just stopped doing it. So then after that, I started to do light language again. At the time, I was going to the spiritualist church and learn about transfiguration and how to control that.
I hope you're really enjoying the program thus far. I want you to hang on real quick. I've got a quick announcement. One of my students from the Practical Lightworker, Rosemary Luna, she is doing an amazing and very exclusive event for the new moon on December 4th. And so I want you to go and watch this really quick, and we'll return to the program. So just give us 1 minute. Thanks, guys.
Hi all, Rosemary here from rosemaryluna.com. You can also find me on Instagram at rosemaryluna_. I wanted to introduce myself and let you guys in on a very intimate group ritual that I will be hosting on December 3rd of 21. So that's 333. There will only be 12 spots available. Once you reserve your spot, you will get a ritual kit. You can get more information on what's included in the kit at my website at rosemaryluna.com or on Instagram. With your kit, you will also get a free spirit-led tarot sticker to help you with your ritual. If you have any questions, message me here on Instagram. I hope to see you guys there.
Right.
With my mediumship. But they were taking us into the future, and they were showing us what Earth would be like and what was going to happen. They were telling us then in the early noughties. And then that's when it started to get really interesting. I started to interact with a woman called Shola, who told me that I've had relationships with her before in the past, well, back from the future.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that we are spirit beings living, obviously, a human existence. We're in this suit, but our spirits are a lot larger than our bodies. So then she started to explain with the time travelers that our spirits can be at one place at one time. And I said, and then I asked her about that, and she said that I was in a parallel, so that many people who are in these good programs on Earth are in parallels. This is why you get deja vu and the Mandela effect.
Mm-hmm.
You get missing time and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the baddies have devices, and they've used it against crimes towards humanity. So we've come here on programs, and you know, like you've got China, and they've got apps with it now that can control your dreams. Because China and places like that always lead the way with technology. So there's an app out where you can actually control your dreams. You can actually Google about that. Okay.
So they figured out how to, or they've been taught how to tap into the subconscious realm, into the ethers.
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually out now. You can actually check that out. Some gimmicky thing, but it works. Okay. So you could imagine where there's people here in bad matrices, it's not a case of clones as clones. They're being used, they've been stuck in a loop, be it either through their past history, their chronic history with their ancestors. And it's part of this spiritual journey. It's getting out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. So this matrix, what's been going on Earth, it's got people who are in bad, they're being controlled with the bad devices. They maybe have this technology in them, which is mind programming them. Okay, this is that they're doing all sorts of things.
So let's
soul harvesting and stuff like that.
Yeah. So let's stay in this matrix inside of a matrix. I'm going to explore that a little bit.
So we've come in here, and there is a future part of us controlling us on this planet with a device. And
our higher self, right? That is eternal.
Well, you could say it's your higher self, but your soul is huge. And you've got to understand there's a lot of angels on this planet, and their souls will be massive. So imagine that they know the future and they know how to bend time. So we need a physical body to be born onto this planet. So we've chose our parents, because you can't live on this planet without being in 3D. We need a suit to live in.
Right.
So we are real, But our there is a future part of us controlling our spirits now. Yeah. We have come as like sort of special agents come here.
Yes. So the reason why I'm kind of translating for people, right? So they can equate that, right, to concepts they already are familiar with. So,
Yeah.
we'll talk about, I know you talk about on your channel, we talk about it here, a lot of people, right? One's higher self, one's spirit, one's auric being. Our auras, our spirits, our
Yeah.
souls cannot actually be contained in this avatar. It is impossible, right?
We're everywhere. We're
But we're
everywhere.
we're exactly. And
Yes.
the higher, or the we'll say more that we ascend, or the higher our frequency, the higher our vibration, then the greater we expand to. It's when we're very
Yes.
dense and we haven't expanded, that and we're stuck in the that's when we get stuck in the programs, because our awareness is not far reaching enough to grasp, right?
Yeah.
The future self, or live in the quantum.
Yeah.
So the higher self lives in the quantum where there's no time, right?
Yeah.
That's our soul, right. Now, those that have come here as more ascended beings are already, we kind of have a jump start to that,
Well,
right?
it's star seeds which have got the devices.
Mm-hmm.
The angels don't need the devices.
Mm-hmm.
So there's angelic beings living on Earth as well. Okay, so you could have part of Michael walking around, or part of Gabriel walking around, or so they don't need to have these devices. But some of us, this world isn't just multicultural; it's multidimensional.
Correct.
And but there's been something that's happened over the last 2 months, and I don't know if all your viewers have noticed there's a big shift in energy. But what's happened is that there's been the federations have signed this, and it was something that was put into place to protect humanity because they couldn't intervene with our spiritual ascension. But because of everything crazy what's going on at the moment, there's been an NDI signed, which is it's been signed, it's been released, so they can't stop it now. So there was something signed where it was an NDI, no direct intervention. That's been released, so now they can't intervene with it.
That's an interesting, development, right? Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, a lot of my personal friends, and I'm sure maybe yours too, we say, and I've questioned this. Well, if they're out there, why haven't they? Why
It's
haven't they come
changing.
and done it, right? And
Yeah.
and I say, I've said before, because at the end of the day, there's we as human beings. We came here as human beings so that we could have authority and jurisdiction, if you will, over
Yeah.
the things that are happening on this earth.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and this is the concept in Christianity, right? This is the concept of a loving and merciful God, of, a Christ consciousness, of a Christ saying, I'm not going to force this on you. You have this choice. So choices had to be made, and ascended beings either had to awaken, or people had to then begin their ascension process. But
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying is, over the last couple of months, basically,
They've
and there
released it. They've released that. The Dracos put that on the planet, the reptides, and they've got no power now. So there's a mass awakening, and this is why everything's going crazy. So
Mhm,
everybody has to try and keep in alignment. So
mhm.
for people out there who are wanting contact, you're going to get contact, basically.
Oh boy, they better buckle up, buttercups. Okay, so for people that wanted someone to come in, or some things, or the friendly
Yeah,
star races, they're coming. And
yeah,
we also have to assume that also, of course, we're going to have opposition to that. So let's kind of go into that, right? A little
right.
bit. Because again, the unfortunate thing is that the programming that we've experienced through various religions will say to people, there's only us, God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, angels and demons, and the devil, right? There's nothing else. Anything else has to be evil, and anything else has to be of the shadow. Let's talk about the fact that, what's your experience? I mean, certainly you've already talked about benevolent beings. What's your
Well,
experience?
let me say this, right? So I was lucky enough because even though I've got a Catholic background, because of coming from traveling gypsies and that, I believe in a way that I've been quite blessed because my parents brought us up to believe what I wanted to believe. So I studied everything. It's something I wanted to do. I studied the Bible young, Bible studies. I studied the Quran, the Torah. I just wanted to understand people. I wanted to understand this world. And that was from 9, 10 years old. I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I knew that I was here to do something big. But when I started to get interaction with Shola, then she introduced me to the star family. And then they showed me the reason why I was the way I was and the reason why I was here. And it was, they celebrate, they don't have holy days. They have days to do with the universe, where the stars are and, the planets are, and gathering together and rejoicing and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what they do is it's called coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's called coffee. Okay. So it is it's collective of focus and thought universal power. And it's empowering. So the children and the Pleiades and all these different planets in our solar system which have been freed from the bodies, their children practice this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something, again, for anybody who is watching this, and believe that this planet is being ruled by religion. It's not, we haven't come here to destroy it. We've to look at it from a different angle, because all religions always goes back to the same source. And this is what the Pleiadians are doing, and the Venus people and all of them out there. It's about souls.
Right.
So they practice that. Venus people, of my understanding, the Pleiadians do gather on the 22nd of December. So you've got to understand that we are the hybrids. So a lot of these, old sort of witchcraft, like summer solstice and that, has come from that. But then you've got the Dracos and that, what twisted with the witchcraft and, and took it for their own doing. That's why it's safest what they did with it.
Right.
But the 22nd of December is it the 22nd or the 21st?
The 21st is the solstice.
Yes, it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they celebrate that, and they do coffee tip.
So, but that's beautiful.
And they pray for Earth. They sort of all gather together with a collective, and they, so they do all of this, and they connect with star seeds, earth angels to, empower with.
Beautiful. So then what we're saying is that there are, just as there are angelic beings, and we understand that there are fallen angels, and then there's other entities that we would call demons, so the same are there star races that are benevolent and good and peaceful, and some that are protectors of, let's say, less developed, if you will, races. Just the same, though, then there, on the other side, there are those that actually seek to control and maintain control over the lesser developed races because of, either their greed, their need for control, or the fact that they really are vibrating at a lower octave. I can't even say lower frequency because it's a lower octave, because they're still other dimensional. So
it's not just a free will world, it's a free will universe. So they're not gods. They have been through what we have been through, some of them. And there is worlds out there which are worse than Earth. But remember, we are winning this. And like I say, all healers and people who are on this understanding, we've come here to this planet to show that there's a middle road, and how to not feed it, and to practice this koffertip. It's about looking at it from a sort of a very neutral way.
Right. The Hermetic principles, right? You get raised to a principle, to a status of
Yeah,
neutrality, where instead of allowing the pendulum swing, because the pendulum would swing, what goes up must go down.
yeah,
So instead of allowing that swing of the pendulum to continue to move you to and fro, we look at it from neutrality and understand everything is as it is because it must be as it is. And
definitely.
when we can get to that point, you have a much better vantage point to change your reality, right? In this temporal world, you have a much better vantage point than to interact with higher frequencies successfully.
Massive, massive. I
Hmm.
mean, my understanding is that we've won this. We just need to settle down in this way of thinking, because we're nearly ready to go galactic when all this comes out. We're gonna be with them,
Hmm.
part of the federations and everything. That's what I've been
Hmm.
told.
Hmm.
That's what's
I
happening.
I feel that yes, of course, if we understand that this is truly a quantum universe, right?
Yeah,
Um, Everything happens simultaneously. There is no delineation of time separation.
that's the thing is time.
So, in fact, we've already won.
Yeah,
We're right now waiting, pushing, changing, what have you. We're waiting for the timeline or this temporal world to rearrange itself to manifest that victory. With that, do you feel like that's accurate in what I'm saying?
definitely so. Um, it's such a complex situation. I mean, they have all this great technology to introduce to her as well. And again, if it gets into the wrong hands, so it's a case of
Mm,
it just needs to be seeped in.
mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
this is why all these countries are going together globally. And yeah, I mean, some may say that they might have the dark agenda for doing it, make money out of it, but we're moving in the right direction,
Oh,
because
definitely.
these good extraterrestrials are behind that. And
Mm-hmm.
what's going to be within the next 18 months is that there's going to be a mass movement on ban the plastic, and that's the next thing to clean up the oceans. And then there's going to be in order to clean things up, stuff has to come out. And this is what's happening now.
Right.
We're in the eye of the storm, but there's going to be great teachings and changes within schools, and people are getting the lights switched on. Yeah, so
Mm.
we are creating. So how they talk about Nazara Jazara, it's like we're creating it ourselves because everyone's having the lights switched on while they're here. Yeah, so some people may be creating a new way of teaching for schools and stuff like that. It's like it all comes from somewhere. That's what it's all about.
I think not only are we the why that we're here, but also understanding that how we're pawns, or we if we allow ourselves to be, we're pawns
We're coming
in
into our
a
own power.
game of someone else's doing,
Yeah,
right? Like the control, the fear, the uh we used to call it revisionist history. And I still say it's like revision, but it's just like some weird time warp. Like all of a sudden you hear someone say, "Oh, this and this happened." And yet you could have seen, and there's been plenty of events recently that I'm like, that's not how it happened. And yet, all over media, all over, there's this is
yeah.
how it happened. And just to incite um, division
Mm-hmm.
amongst the people, because these energies feed off of our fear and feed off of the
Definitely.
ability to control us.
So exactly. So it's about not getting angry when we know that this has all happened on this planet in
Hmm.
order for this to come in.
It had to.
It
Yeah.
had to.
Yeah.
So there is light at the end of the tunnel. and it's not that far on. It's not that far on. But in order to clean up, mess will come out. But it's
Yes.
about not feeding into that, because they want you angry. They want, like you say, they want you frightened, But it takes each and every one of we're coming into our own power. We've been giving our power away too long to different leaders and stuff like that. And
Yes. And different entities. It's like, so
yeah, because
I
it's the
want
matrix.
yeah. I want to clear something up too. Just because these beings, these star races are coming doesn't mean they're coming to save us.
No, they're not. They can't do that. They are just here. They'll introduce, the free light, free heat, and
Mhm.
more jobs and like space, like Star Trek, really.
Mhm.
We will become part of the federations.
Mhm.
It's given hope for humanity,
Mhm. Mhm.
but
Mhm.
this is why it's all been held back, and it's through money and greed and power. But that matrix broke. The Pleiadians also showed me that there was this force field which was holding me down.
Yeah.
I talked about this on a Twitch show a few
Mhm.
weeks
Mhm.
ago, actually. You've got Mars,
Mhm.
you've got Earth,
Mhm.
okay? And imagine a figure eight on its side, and it's been swirling around, and
Mhm.
it's been the matrix. So my understanding is that where we're on top of this planet, you need to understand that's just what we know, but there is an inner city world,
Yes.
right? It's all going on. It's all going on as well. So we've been getting sort of, going through all of this on the top of this planet. In Mars, it's the upside down world. So these poor people have been trapped inside, a bit like the film The Island, right? So they
Mhm.
don't, and they've awakened, and they're trying to break out of that as well.
Mhm.
So we've also been told as well that this is Earth and that is Mars, but it's actually not.
Now you're gonna blow people's minds. Let me just everybody just hang on. We're talking here. So this is what this is yes. So this is interesting. I've heard this theory from
Just
others.
labels, aren't they? They're just labels.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We were put here, we were brought here. We haven't evolved like they say we did from cavemen, because the cavemen could look directly at the sun. We need sunglasses. With his skeletons found of caveman, and he's got this big forehead and he's hunched over. The next thing, we're upright with different shaped skulls. Yeah. And we'll have to have sunglasses to look at the sun.
Well,
Where
that's
there's no
interesting because
mint
right
and mint.
but the
Yeah.
theory though, right, is that it was the Lemurian race that came and
We came
began
here.
to assist in the evolution. So, because originally there was like 26, I think, 25 or 26 different types of humans. This is why we see different races of humans, right? The
Yeah.
humans weren't actually humans, right? There were different variations of mammals,
Mhm.
which is why we see Neanderthal man and this man and that man. It's
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
it was an evolutionary scale per se, but these are all races of a mammal that existed at the same time, but with through the Lemurian women giving birth, right?
Uh,
There was an evolution where we became human or man that is able to I will say contain for lack of word light. We weren't able to contain and hold light, spirit, energy. We weren't able to be energetic beings living or animating an avatar prior to the
mhm.
Lemurian star seeding. So, how does that differ from what your understanding is that you're talking about here being
Well, we were
planted?
brought here. That's what they showed me. They were brought here. There was we were Martians and different, and actually I've also been shown as well there was another Earth. Um, this is really, really crazy because they're trying to create another Earth as well. But
Well, if
anyway,
we believe in parallel universes and parallel timelines, then of course there would be a parallel Earth.
yeah, definitely.
Multiples.
So we were on Mars and it was invaded, and Palladian and different star races brought we here. Unfortunately, there was some left and they were enslaved.
Hmm.
And they were fine for a while, and then we got invaded on Earth, and obviously you have your memories wiped, and then it starts again. This is 9 times this has happened. This is what they showed me. We're in the 9th gate.
Yeah.
And the enslaved were by, not literally, it's just like telling her to speak a certain way and telling her that we are this race and we are that race, and started again, you know, got rid of all the scrolls and the scriptures and the books, and we had great technology because we were far advanced.
Mm-hmm.
But there was many of were living on Mars, and then they labeled it Earth. But really, it's what they told me is that Mars is Earth and Earth is Mars, and they put me into this matrix figure 8. This technology is broken, and because of this, that the sort of the Wizard of Oz technology is broken. This invisible sort of gravity, what they put around both planets.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are all on this planet, and we've all gone ping, 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 ping. We're awakened, not panicking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Mm-hmm.
why we are getting these connections. This is
Mm-hmm.
why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we're realizing that we're all interstellar, or we're all different.
Yeah, some of us are beginning to recognize that. So let's talk about while we're going through this great awakening, and yes, there are plenty of things happening and why they're happening. So my belief in when I look in the stars, when I look into the astrology of it all, is we have entered into this energy of autonomy, this energy of discovering our autonomy, to discovering who we really are as in beings that are divine beings of prime source divine, not
Yeah.
saying that we're supreme God. So I don't want
No.
anyone in my comment section pipe
It's the
down.
truth. It's the real truth. We're just getting,
It is.
because we're popping out and we're realizing what's actually been going on.
Yes, yes. And so as this veil is basically gone at this point, and the changes are beginning to happen, what else do you feel? And I sense it's truly like the birth pains, right, of a new earth, a new existence on earth, and potentially a separation. What are you sensing that we're going to continue to see as we move forward through this
It
evolution?
comes down to faith, and it comes down to faith in knowing that you're safe. And what we've been told is what is reality and what isn't reality. We're starting to realize that's not true. It's trying to get that fine line in the middle so it doesn't cause that sort of craziness. We have to try and walk in the middle. Okay. The problem we've got here now at the minute is you can't eradicate all the darkness off the planet, but we just need to heal as much as we can and understand as much as we can. So we still have a lot of people who are stuck in the matrix. And it's being there to help one another. We're writing the new Bible, but we also have imposters here who've come, reptile imposters, because they're walking amongst we, and who are this trickery going on amongst different communities. But once you become ascended, you see this for what it really is, because you're using your heart. You're not using your mind, you're using your heart. It's what you feel. We need to go back, and this is what's going to be taught in schools. It's what you feel. If it feels good, it's good. If it doesn't feel good, it's not good. Like somebody said to me, well, what happens if a UFO lands? How do you know if it's not being tricked and it's not something else? Because you go with your feelings. And this is what we should have been taught in school. This is what the Pleiadians showed me, what they teach their children. We have to teach children how to feel. If it feels good, it's good.
Yes.
And that's, we are working on our inner child. So there's a lot of peeling back the onion, and it's peeling within.
Yep.
And
because
it's understanding it's going to be okay as well. We're still here on it as a physical being, but realizing that we are magical beings. That's all it is. And that
right,
we're capable a lot more because we're
right,
energy.
exactly. And recognizing, I mean,
Mhm.
doctors recognize this. They'll tell you, excuse me, that your heart is its own brain. It has its
Definitely.
own
Oh, yeah.
neurons and such,
Yeah.
and it is a very strong electromagnetic field generator. And
The love
so, if you
frequency.
can learn to think with your heart brain
The love
and
frequency. Tap into
feel,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you feel that, then
Yeah.
you are much more you have a much greater perception.
It's very important that you don't go into this with fear because,
Hmm.
like you said, and you said in one of your podcasts, Lisa, the awakening is one thing, but it's the actual ascension's another. Because there's no end into this rabbit hole. You just go on and on and on. And there's a lot of extraterrestrial beings out there who haven't even discovered it all.
Right,
you know?
right, right.
You have your different types of alien races. Some of them, like you've got the Greys are great professors and scientists.
Hmm.
Yeah. But then you might have Canadians who are the great lovers or
Right.
it's just there's a lot happening, but it's packed in our Milky Way. It is packed, but they're also here, and that they're integrating out around where. So some people are gonna start to get contact because, like I
Hmm.
say, the NDI has been abolished.
Correct. Yes.
That was put into a treaty, and it's been abolished.
So things are going to rapidly begin to change.
Oh yeah. So a lot of people are going to still get their telepathic connections and, through astral travel and that, because a lot of people will get that through. It doesn't mean an alien being's going to come knocking on your front door. Hi, I'm here. Like, can I have a cup of tea? But it's going to be, they may meet somebody. If they're at that level, they'll know when you're ready. They'll come in.
Yes.
Yeah. And they normally come in broad daylight. They don't like to frighten. They don't want to frighten me.
Right.
So they will come in. They'll come through portals and they'll come and meet you. For the ones who are ready.
Yes. So I don't want everyone out there thinking, "Oh my gosh, they're coming to visit me."
The rest will just they'll seep it in through
Yeah.
dream state and give them little signs. And a lot of these 1111s are all these numbers. It's their languages. It's their binary. It's their languages. They're trying to connect with all these kids. And I get loads of kids and they're trying to say, "No, I'm getting 1111 a lot," and all these different numbers. And it's,
Yeah.
it's Archangel Michael. Don't worry about it. It's the Pleiadians.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. And I think we assign, these numbers to only angel numbers when I guess for some people that's the only way they can understand this. But
Yeah.
it's not always
But they're
angels
not
talking to
angels.
you.
No. There's a lot
It's
of
not
quotes
it.
in the Bible, angels, aliens. It's it's the way it's
Yes.
been written.
Yes.
It's just we're realizing now that Santa Claus is, like kids realize when they realize Santa Claus isn't real. It's the same thing.
Yes.
Just getting your head around it. But this is where this new earth, how Jesus says in the Bible, it's like there'll be a split where some will go and some will stay. It
Yes.
doesn't mean they're going to be sucked off the planet. The rapture's now. This is the rapture. It's where people are into, having that intervention with star races and the time travel. Some people are and some people aren't.
Oh Lord, help us. She
This
didn't.
is it.
Okay. Ooh, where is my fan? Oh my goodness. Oh God. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I want one of
Okay.
them. Where did you get that from? I need one of them because I'm going through the menopause, And that's something else. I've got to say this to all your ladies and, well,
Yeah.
gentlemen as well. And,
Yes.
this is something that we have a bit of a downfall is females middle age now on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Because unlike our mothers and our grandmothers and ancestors before we're going through the menopause, through the Great Awakening. Oh my God. Because It's this, I've looked this up. It's the same, you get the same symptoms through Great Awakening. Your taste buds can change, you get agitated, sleep pattern disturbances, all sorts of things.
Oh
It's
my
the same as what you get with menopause. So we've got a double whammy.
So we're
We
going
just,
through the double change.
oh my goodness, yes,
Oh
yes.
my. Vitamin E for all my ladies. Vitamin E.
Does that work?
Oh my gosh, cures a multitude of sins, let me tell you. It is
Really?
a godsend. Vitamin E, just take 1 or 2 every day. It helps immensely.
What, with all of that type
All
of
of
thing?
the symptoms. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to
Mhm,
get some.
mhm.
But yeah, we're going through it pretty rough at the moment. So it's very important to be grounded, be around nature. And that's something else, once you start to have intervention with, there'll be people out there who are very ascended, but they haven't physically had a contact.
Yeah.
It's getting your head around it. It's being around nature. So there'll be days when you want to get into it, and then days when you don't want to get into it. Well, that's fine. It's part of being human because it just eases you into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not going down the fear factor. This because fear just blurs everything, and this is what
Correct.
was placed upon with the Matrix.
Correct. I want to go back here to this one space that we were in just a moment ago about how there's this separation. Well, anyone that has studied, the Bible in Revelation, it does talk about, after this great tribulation, then there is a millennial reign, if you will, and where it's ruled with rod and iron. What I find where the world is ruled with rod and iron, but there's kind of this hovering of we used to call it New Jerusalem over the earth, right? And there's discussions about how the people of the earth will have to come up to make some sort of tribute or whatever, but the rulingness, then there's beings that are going to come back and forth and back and forth. We always thought about that as, oh, there's going to be this great catching away, and when we're in the sky, and da 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 da. And I'm beginning to see that those of us that choose to actually live in a quantum realm.
Well, you're talking
That
to
we
somebody who's in the rapture. I've been sucked out of that realm, so I jump backwards and forwards. So
as do I already. Like
yeah,
I'm here and I'm there and I'm here and
yeah.
there simultaneously most of the time. But this is a different concept. Like a lot of this is blowing people's right because we're already in this time and space where there is this kind of separation and
Mhm.
I only see it getting greater and not necessarily in a bad way, but not everybody is ready to live fifth and higher dimensionally. Not everyone's ready to make that jump.
Not everybody
Yes,
is. But that doesn't mean if you've got somebody in your family who's not ready, it doesn't mean you can't still interact with them when you're in that fifth
correct.
dimension and you're crystallized and you're connecting with alien beings and seriously,
Correct.
because that's what's coming.
Yeah.
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 So it's when you become that ascended, you can actually telepathically manifest them when they come through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they are physically walking amongst them. And they are
Right.
physically, and I mean, that they've been working with the US government for a long, long time. I mean, all this missing money, what went missing, I'll not say, when, and that horrible tragedy happened in 2011. Was it 2011? No, not on the 11th.
Yes, I know. We
Yeah,
know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It all went into the space programs. There was trillions of dollars went missing. It went into the space programs. It's Star Trek out there. I mean, it's where.
We will. Yeah, we're going to have another discussion about that. We're going to have to.
Oh
We're
yeah,
going to pause
this
here
is
because
spiritual.
there's a lot more that I want to get into as well. So we're going to pause this conversation here for now. And the next
Yeah,
time
yeah.
we're going to talk more about Star Trek. We're going to talk more about, the real Star Trek. We're going to talk more about the tunnels. And I want to also kind of get into how these movies have already shown us what's already happened and what's
Seeped in, but it
to
comes through
happen.
people's consciousness, through movie makers, like
Yes.
it comes in that way. Yeah.
Yes.
So then they get the thought. because
Yeah.
we're a frequency and that energy, and this is how they write these things, and they
Yeah.
do these plays and movies, and
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
it's all out there.
So you
Even
guys.
down to the Lord of the Rings. I love the Lord of
Oh
the Rings.
my goodness. Absolutely.
There is beings in the universe which look like that,
Abs-
very pixie-like with a pointed ears.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, for those of you that you might not be of a certain age, there's this wonderful movie called Total Recall that the original Arnold Schwarzenegger for sure, that will show you. I mean, there's like this Mars underground, all of this, right? And they were under a lot of, so if you want to go see what life on Mars underground is like, go watch that movie. Louise, it is always such a pleasure. And we're going to have your links down below, but people can find you. Where can they find you?
They can find us on my YouTube channel, Psychic LJ. If they want to follow us for more nitty gritty, will predictions and talking about stuff like this, Twitch every Sunday night. I stream 11 p.m. UK time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
And
randomly
Facebook.
pop
And
out
we
on
can,
Facebook, but
yeah, yeah, we
mainly
can,
YouTube. Yeah.
you can, Louise still does private readings. So
Readings, yeah.
you can definitely book that on her Facebook page. And we'll have all of the links down below in the description across all the social media and streaming platforms that we are on. Thank you so much, my dear sister.
It's
Thank you so
been a
much.
pleasure, as always, Lisa.
As always. Well, until we all meet again, we love
Yes.
you. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.